Carlson, when you say to somebody in an interview, do you condemn anti-Semitism? And then the person says, sure, which is what Nick Fuentes said. He said, I'm not an anti-Semite, which is blatantly untrue. Yeah. A responsible journalist would then follow up, demonstrating that that is false. Tucker did not do that. He allowed him to get away with that, and then he allowed him to talk about, quote-unquote, organized Jewry, followed by Nick Fuentes being treated to a disquisition by Tucker Carlson about why Christian Zionists of all human beings on earth are the people that he hates the most.
Why Nick Fuentes?
I interviewed Fuentes. Well, I should just give the publicly available information on this, which is that I was in an extremely personal and bitter war with Fuentes like 3 weeks ago. It mostly wasn't public, but Fuentes was attacking my father. You know, some of what Fuentes was saying about my dad was, true, okay, which made it worse. In college, Ben Shapiro actually tried to shut him down freshman year in college, and it didn't work. In fact, it had the opposite effect.
Way overstated the number of Jews killed in the Holocaust. He's ripped on poor Usha Vance in the most offensive terms, which I mean, so what do you say to those people? Say, why didn't you raise any of that?
Do your own interview the way that you want to do it. You're not my editor. Buzz off. I mean, I don't know. You want to go yell at Nick Fuentes? I'll give you his cell. Call him and go sit and yell at him and feel virtuous or whatever. That's up to you.
Hello, welcome back, and thanks for choosing to hang out with your host, the Conservative Bird, and me, Double D, and you're on the Brick Road Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, and before we get into everything, let me make sure to tell you guys to hit that like, hit that share, hit the subscribe, and smash the notification. It's the free and easy way to help this channel grow as big as possible. So, Double D, we seem to have a problem right now where, we have people that are technically supposed to be conservatives who don't seem to believe in freedom of speech, who don't seem to believe in having common discord or dialogue with people within the same mindset as you, where if they think one thing differently than you, it's automatically cut them off, don't do anything with them. If you do anything, you're just promoting a Nazi, you're promoting this, you're promoting that, you're promoting anything anti of whatever they're wanting to talk about. It's almost like you could just call anything nowadays racist, you could call someone a bigot, and you're only doing it to just try and shut them up because you don't like what they're saying, as opposed to just having the conversation that you don't like.
Bert, it is kind of a dilemma right now. We are the Republicans and the right and the MAGA. I'm going to say the MAGA movement. I don't want to refer to it as Republicans because not everybody in MAGA is a Republican. Nick Fuentes probably is one of those. He's probably he's on the right for sure. Yeah. I don't know if he considers himself a Republican or not, but he's definitely within that realm of the other side of the MAGA movement. Okay. There appears to me at this point that a lot of people on the MAGA side, like in the Ben Shapiro side and the I don't know who else I would compare with that.
Well, there's Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is over there on that side, because he's with Ben Shapiro. It's basically, the whole his whole movement, whatever his channel's called.
Let's just say
the Daily Wire.
The Daily Wire.
The Daily Wire. Yeah.
Let's just call him the Daily. And I love that show. I love that channel. I should say, not really that show. It's a channel. But with that said, there is a movement from within on that to basically do what the left has been doing for the last decade, and that's shutting down free speech.
Right.
I personally, I'm not really in agreement with Nick Fuentes for a lot of the things that he says.
And
I
love Nick.
Fact, yes, you do. And I understand that he has a really good stronghold with the millennial and Gen Z, or men especially. And I can respect that. I don't like everything he says, but I am never going to be a proponent of stopping him from saying it. Right. Because the First Amendment is one of the most important amendments in the Bill of Rights, is the most important amendment in the Bill of Rights, the right to freedom of speech, religion, and freedom of press. That is the reason the rest of the Constitution is there. The Second Amendment is really written to protect the First.
Right.
So even though I disagree with Nick Fuentes on about 70% of the things that come out of his mouth, economically, we're on the same planet. You know what I mean?
Right.
I pretty much agree with his economics, almost at least 90%.
Right. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, more recently, Nick Fuentes did a sit-down interview with Tucker Carlson, and Ben Shapiro thinks that was not a good idea, that he shouldn't be platforming Nick Fuentes. But it's like, why? Just because you don't agree with him? If Nick Fuentes doesn't like what's going on in Israel, he has every right to say, hey, I don't like that. You might not agree with them. I might not agree with them. I might agree with them. You might agree with them. But it really doesn't matter. It's the fact of the matter that once you tell somebody that they can't criticize something and that they should be shunned upon and looked down upon because of that, we got a problem then. Because that's not doing anything better than these libtards are doing.
Well, it's actually making them just like them.
Right.
I mean, Vivek Ramaswamy said it best. The cancel culture, the name calling, the projection, the transference, these are all things that they do on the left, man.
Right.
These are not things that conservatives do, all right? Or even libertarians for that matter, because I'm more of a libertarian. I'm not going to say I'm a right-wing conservative because I'm not. I'm more of a middle-of-the-road libertarian who happens to lean more to the right than to the left.
Right.
Especially when it comes to economics. And I just don't think I just think it's a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
It's a very dangerous realm that we're walking into when we start ourselves now determining what's wrong and what's right speech.
Yeah.
How does that make them any different than those on the left?
Very true. So if you guys haven't seen yet, we got just like a little clip. This is the interview of Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes that Ben Shapiro is getting his panties in a bunch all over.
Let that clip roll, Bird.
And, this.
So how would you like this all to be resolved?
What I would like is for the U.S. government to not be influenced by these kinds of foreign allegiances, not with money that comes from, American citizens like Sheldon Adelson, not from foreign lobbyists. So, I mean, in terms of tangible things, I don't think we disagree on any of it. Like registering AIPAC and FARA, banning dual citizenship. Like I'm basically in agreement.
I think 80% of the public agrees with those.
Yeah.
Things. So that's kind of what gets me a little bit annoyed. It's like these are like America First, the concept. It's the most popular, self-evidently true idea you could have. Like, don't let foreign powers, especially tiny ones far away, control your country. Like, of course not.
I agree
Everyone
with that.
agrees with
100%.
that on both sides.
I don't understand
right.
I don't understand what's to disagree about any of that. I don't understand
sure
it.
Who's in disagreements with? Oh, my bad. We're talking about Ben, right?
Yeah, we're talking about Crybaby Ben.
So he's in disagreements with Nick Fuentes and Tucker, obviously, and you and I, to be entirely honest.
He thinks he thinks these are Nazi right-wing extremist ideas.
No, how is not wanting to be influenced by Israel or
anywhere,
Saudi Arabia or the UK,
anywhere,
or any other country for that matter?
Right.
If I had it my way, we'd have no outside influences whatsoever.
I agree.
I'm going to be really super quick on this because I just want to bring it up. But Trump might have $1 billion lawsuit against the BBC
I heard
because
about
they did that tape cutting from January 6th.
I did see
and
that.
that was to manipulate our election. They cut out 50 minutes between the peaceful protest, and they cut out like 50 minutes of it and clipped the two together. You don't have to pull it up, but most people have already seen it anyway.
Yeah.
But basically,
I just seen that. I just seen that he's suing them for a lot of money, And rightfully so. And it's not about the money. And that's what people fail to understand. It's not about the money.
No, it's about the interference.
Yeah, it's about the viewpoint of it, the way it makes him look. And you just literally smeared this man's entire campaign just because you don't want him to win an election. And to be fair, that's the BBC's not even in America. So that should be like foreign interference.
That is foreign interference. That's why he's talking about suing them. And they now, just for the record, I believe the BBC did fire that CEO, but still, they only fired him because he's looking at $1 billion lawsuit, which for the BBC could pretty much bankrupt them.
Right.
No, I didn't mean to get off subject.
No,
but
you're just.
It kind of relates to that.
Right, with the whole freedom of speech thing. So let's see what else they got to talk about. What Ben Shapiro deems as a Nazi interview.
Well, before you roll that, because you just said something when I don't even think you intentionally did it, but the freedom of speech thing. So does freedom of speech protect freedom of lying, though? I mean, because the BBC literally lied.
Well, that's different. When you're on air, you have to tell the truth because you're broadcasting to millions of people. If you and I are having a conversation, we could say whatever we want, whether it's a lie or not. That doesn't matter. But when you're making profit from what you're saying, you have to tell the truth.
Well, not only that, but we're not journalists. We're commentators. We're podcasters.
True.
We're not journalists. We didn't go to college for journalism.
True.
You know what I mean? And I've never made a claim to be a journalist, and I never will. But
true.
But yeah, so yeah, they should be held responsible for lying. Then I think we both agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the trick is not to let that idea get subverted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think we agree on that.
But it's subverted when they're like, that's hate. No, that's hate. It's not hate.
Yeah. Well, and, here's what I will say. I think that there is increasingly a contingent, because what you're talking about exists. When you say that there are people that legitimately detract from this, there is legitimate racial hatred out there.
Big time.
And it's growing. And
I know.
People on our side are afraid to talk about it because they know, like you said, they're going to get called a cuck or a squish or whatever. And I agree with you. The people that are detracting from that need to be called out. And I think there should be no harbor for cruelty, hatred, prejudice, those kinds of things.
And some of them, I'm sorry to be a conspiracy nut. I really try not to be a conspiracy because it's embarrassing, But after January 6th, and just finding out the number of FBI personnel in the crowd, it's like, and I've just seen that.
Which was extremely insane when it came out that it was like 247 FBI agents in the crowd on January 6th.
But are you surprised?
No, not at all. It's just insane to think that there was that many. What they're saying is not false at all. So I don't understand. I have not heard one thing that makes me think, oh, Nick Fuentes is a Nazi.
Oh, he's fired, dude. First of all, Nazis aren't capitalists; they're socialists. I mean, I wish the socialists could figure this out. It's literally in the frickin' name, National Socialist German Workers' Party. And before that, they were the Democratic Socialist German Workers' Party. Sound familiar? It sounds familiar to me. So no, Nick Fuentes is not a Nazi. Might he be an anti-Israel type of person, almost to the point of even asshole-ish about it? Maybe. It's not for me to say.
See, I don't even think he's anti-Israel per se. I think he's anti-Israeli government and what they're doing right now, which is fine. You have every right to criticize. If we can criticize our government, we can criticize other governments as well.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the point that Nick tries to get across. And that's why I think that people take such a liking to him, because of the fact that, what he's saying is raw, unfiltered, and uncut, and it's what he believes.
I'll say this for Nick Fuentes. It is authentic.
Yep. Authentic.
Everything. There's no reason to believe anything differently than what he tells you.
True.
Yes, David Duke is a great example.
And I don't think he's a Nazi either.
No.
Charlottesville rally.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of feds there being like, we're white supremacists. We hate the blacks. Using the N-word, whatever. It's like, that's not real. Like, there is some of that going on.
That's crazy.
I think that there's a lot of sincere people
Well, for sure. Oh, I completely agree.
And they're just numbskulls, and some of them are legitimately, they see the opening, that there's legitimate critique of this, and they see an opening to air out their grievances. They get a license they think it's okay now. And I do think it's important to differentiate and say that fundamentally, I guess the word that I would use, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is reassurance, because I think there's a legitimate, there is legitimate need to reassure people. And this is kind of what I've been doing on these podcasts, that we don't want to harm anybody. We don't want to kill anybody. We don't want to harm anybody. Right. We just want to put America first. And I guess, to the extent that I've been taken out of context over the years or things like that, I'm trying to set the record straight and say, and I appreciate you've given me this opportunity. These are my real views. I'm not one of those haters, let's say.
Yeah. Well, I think people should be allowed to describe what they think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like a basic human autonomy question.
Yeah.
Like, if I want to know what you think, I should just ask you and let you talk.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I agree. Nothing he said was wrong. Nothing he said was bigoted. I also myself want to put America first, and that's it. And I'm not worried about what's going on in these other countries. I wish everybody well, and I hope everybody, comes to peace at some point. But I don't think we should have time to worry about that right now.
And I think I'm pretty much in that same agreement with you on that. I am definitely America first. I'd rather see Americans taking care of America first. We really now, and I also would like to see peace happen over in Israel and Gaza. Right. I would like to see them work that out as quickly as they can, because it is spreading over here as an ideology on both sides, and that we have enough disagreement in America right now. We certainly don't need to be. We don't need to be disagreeing about foreign stuff. First of all, we shouldn't even be giving a shit about that. Honestly, I care enough about Israel and Gaza to see that it comes to an end and people stop dying.
Right.
But I'm never going to put that before America.
Exactly.
Just not going to do it. I don't put the Israeli flag before the American flag. I'm certainly not putting the Palestinian flag before it. My flag comes first. And my country comes first.
My flag comes only. So Tucker Carlson was on the Megyn Kelly show, and you already know that this little interview right here after the fact triggered the shit out of Ben Shapiro. You know it did, because the dude's nothing but a little whining little bitch, dude. All he does is cry. I can't stand listening to him. Like, I'm cool with the fact that, hey, he helped Trump get elected. Cool, whatever. But that doesn't mean I want to hear your whining ass cry all the time and your annoying ass voice constantly fucking being all over everything. And like, you're the voice of the right, dude. Like, get out of here. You are not the voice of conservatives. Not one fucking bit.
No, not really. I mean, if anything, Tucker is the voice of conservatism.
Right. So let's hear what he has to say.
At least the longest running voice at this point.
Yeah.
Why Nick Fuentes?
Even longer than Greg.
I interviewed Fuentes. Well, I should just give the publicly available information on this, which is that I was in an extremely personal and bitter war with Fuentes like 3 weeks ago. It mostly wasn't public, but Fuentes was attacking my father. A subject I have like literally no sense of humor. My father passed in March, and was really kind of the patriarch. Not kind of, he was the patriarch in our family and a hero to every person in our family. And some of what Fuentes was saying about my dad was, true, okay, which made it worse. But I was just so offended by that I couldn't deal with it, and my son and my wife. So, I was really mad at Fuentes, and then I did an interview, and just out of the blue, I was so mad it popped out, and I attacked Nick Fuentes. In this interview, this was last month, I think, ish. And then I got all these calls from people saying, do you know anything about, I don't know anything really about Nick Fuentes, other than he's attacking my dad, my wife, and my son. And it was like, actually, Nick Fuentes is the single most influential commentator among young men. Like, period.
He's got 5 million subscribers on Rumble.
It's bonkers. And I didn't know any of it. I mean, I'm 56, so I'll just state the obvious, Like,
he's not our demo.
My oldest child is 31, much older than Nick Fuentes. So I kind of missed a lot of this stuff. I pride myself on not missing things. I totally missed that. Really? And then it turns out that, he has no advertisers. They've been trying to cancel him since freshman year in college. Ben Shapiro actually tried to shut him down freshman year in college.
Yeah, I think that I disagree with Ben doing that.
So,
I lost
but
respect
now,
for Ben Shapiro when he did that.
Now it makes sense, though, as to why he doesn't like Nick Fuentes. He tried canceling him. Nick Fuentes seen him at, I want to say some conservative, whatever they do, those little things that they do, whatever. And he seen Ben Shapiro walking across the street and challenged him to debate him. And Ben Shapiro, like a little pussy, tucked his tail between his legs and just kept walking across the street.
Yeah, he should have took that challenge. But the thing with Ben, he's pretty rehearsed.
Yeah.
I mean, even on the Megan show, I thought that he doesn't seem to listen very much. He really talks over people a lot. I've noticed that.
He's our destiny. That's what it is. Ben Shapiro is the right's destiny, where a lot of people on the right don't really care for him, but hey, it is what it is. They just let him do his thing.
Yeah. I mean, when he's by himself, it's fine. But when he's with other people on the show, dude, it's hard to watch because it's constant.
Yeah.
And I know we've been guilty of that ourselves on this show, and I get that. But that is every single show that Ben does with somebody else on it. There's constant, like, if he don't agree with you, he's all over you.
Yeah.
He don't even give you a chance to defend yourself. And I hate that.
Left-wing ideology, if you ask me.
Yeah, cancel culture, dude. That is left wing all the way. He's just a right left winger is what he is.
Yep.
He uses the same tactics, except he's on our side.
Yep.
Didn't work. In fact, it had the opposite effect. So I was like, and so I talked to a million people I know. Like, maybe I should interview Nick Fuentes to hear what is this?
Bingo.
Actually?
That's what you do.
And so I decided to do it. And I thought it would be controversial. I didn't think it would become what it's become. I'm not going to offer any defense other than, it's kind of interesting. I've literally, I've interviewed I'm doing this for 34 years. So I've interviewed everybody, most of.
He shouldn't have to offer an excuse, and he certainly shouldn't have to explain it if he don't want to.
Not one bit.
He doesn't have to make an excuse. I mean, that's the First Amendment. He doesn't have to make an excuse.
Yeah, it's literally his show. He can interview whoever the hell he wants to.
Whether he likes that person or not.
If he wants to interview a duck that's walking around in front of his building where he's at, he can go interview that duck if he wants to. That's his choice and his prerogative to literally interview whoever and whatever he wants to. If he wants to go outside and talk to a fucking tree and ask him about climate change and interview a fucking tree about climate change, he has every right to go do that. I'm sick of people like Ben Shapiro. Like, bro, just go to the left already. Nobody gives a fuck. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Go be on the left if that's what you want. If you just want to cancel people on our side just because you don't believe in what they're saying or you disagree with them, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, there's always going to be people on even on your own side that you disagree with.
Right.
You're never going to find 10 people you're not going to even find 5 people to entirely agree on everything. You want to know why? Because they all have different experiences. They have different things that have happened in their lives that make them look at the world differently.
Them bad people, to be honest.
Right.
I interviewed Liberian militia leaders during the Liberian Civil War, all cannibals, every single one of them. It tasted human flesh.
Wild.
And first of all, I kind of like them. I'm just being honest because I like people. Don't agree with cannibalism. Pretty opposed.
For the record.
But I'm just that way. I just like people. And the closer, if you can like smell someone and talk to them, like it's hard to not see the human in the person, even if he's a cannibal.
Did the Liberian cannibal smell good?
Kind of rank, to be honest. Actually, during the interview, I'll never forget this. I was in Africa to cover the Civil War, and I'm interviewing this guy, and he was like, Commander Butt Naked, or it wasn't actually Commander Butt Naked, who was a famous militia leader during that war, who fought, needless to say, butt naked. But I'm interviewing this guy, and his cell phone goes off, and it's the Woody Woodpecker theme song. Da 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 da.
Right. So we get the idea that Tucker Carlson is literally just saying, and he just told you he didn't even really know much about Nick Fuentes. The dude was running his mouth about him and his father, who's passed away, and he said, you know what? Let me just interview the kid and see what he's about. That is what we do. That is what we do. We don't shun people out. We don't get rid of them if we disagree with them, and especially if they're on our side, even if they're not on our side. If you have the opportunity to interview the person, go interview the person. Why not?
Isn't that what Charlie Kirk was all about to begin with? It's just having a discussion, sit down and let's talk about it. Let's debate. In
both aspects, if you're right and I'm wrong, or if I'm right and you're wrong, then that's going to be proven within the debate. Exactly. Or within the interview, or within the podcast. When we start talking about the things that we want to talk about, and we get back down to the meat and potatoes of everything, we're going to find out who's right and who's wrong. Not about feelings, just all facts. And that's what's wrong with Ben Shapiro. And this clip right here, it literally proves how much of a fucking crybaby he is.
Before you let that clip roll, Bert, I just wanted to say not every situation is a right and wrong situation either. You can find a little bit of right on both sides, and a little bit of wrong,
and find a common ground within something that you disagree about.
I mean, that's why it's called having a dialogue. That's why it's called a debate. That's why it's called a discussion. That's why it's called agreeing to disagree.
Not Destiny Shapiro over here. Destiny Shapiro over here just wants to tell people that they're Nazis and they're fascists if he doesn't agree with you.
A right wing that embraces its own fringes will end up in the same position as a left wing that has embraced its fringes.
Okay, so that's why I want to get into it. Embraces.
Yes.
So now, having spoken to Tucker, I actually see that interview very differently. And I did listen to the interview, and I knew what Nick Fuentes was. And I think he did show himself to be who he is. It wasn't his most vile stuff, but you got the feel for what this guy was. But I really think Tucker was talking to him, Ben, to put like a bumper on this guy. Because what Tucker was urging him the whole time was to understand that collective punishment for any one group of people is wrong. It's deeply immoral, and it's anti-Christian, which this guy is supposed to be, and reminding him of how deeply immoral that is, that you should not be looking at a group of people, whomever it is. Like the left does it to everyone, whites mostly, but like this collective shame, white men in particular. And there's a group of people like Nick Fuentes that does it to groups of Jews. And he was making the case throughout the whole interview in the way that Tucker does. He's not like you or me. He's not like pointed and cross-examining.
That is not true.
And was making...
That is fundamentally...
That is not true. I'll guarantee Ben Shapiro did not watch the fucking interview, that all he did was see clips that people sent him, and he's going on his little left-wing bullshit, and he's just going based off of clips instead of watching the entire interview. I'll guarantee it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't even that long of an interview. It was like an hour and a half, right?
No, it was like 2.5 hours, but me and you just watched a 3-minute clip, and I'll guarantee that's something that Ben Shapiro was crying about. I'm sorry, Destiny Shapiro, and what we watched, we agreed with pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a problem with what I heard on that. I mean, it all sounded fairly straightforward. I did watch like a lot of the interview on and off. Like I only watched like an hour and a half. I thought it was only an hour and a half, so I must have cut it off early or caught it in the middle or whatever.
2:18 or something.
Yes, but anyway, bottom line is most of it was, to me, it was like they were just having conversations, to be honest.
Right.
Like there was the important stuff, I guess, is what Ben Shapiro is talking about, but there was a lot of unimportant stuff in that, and I wouldn't be able to tell you what half of it was because I'm in and out like that. So
right.
Untrue.
No.
Senator Ted Cruz whether that is true.
He gave it to Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz is a politician.
That's,
Yes.
Hold up. So only politicians get cross-examined?
You don't. Well, look,
Truly?
it depends on the person.
Tucker would never cross-examine a person who is not a politician. That's his rule?
Tucker has excoriated public figures who purport to speak for us and represent us
Yes.
for many years. Nick Fuentes is a podcaster civilian.
Okay, I just have a question. We all in our industry are constantly excoriating people who are in our industry. It happens all the time, every single day.
Okay.
Okay. Again,
But we're talking about his interviews.
we can agree to disagree on your interpretation of what Tucker was doing there. I think everybody should watch and determine for themselves what they think Tucker was doing.
No, here's what Tucker was doing. Tucker literally just told you that the kid was talking shit about him, talking shit about his dead father, and he didn't know nothing about, he didn't even know anything about the kid, and he was still willing to go interview him. That's the thing that this pussy is leaving out.
Yeah, I think Tucker was trying to get to the bottom of it. Let's find out what makes this kid tick before we judge him any further.
Exactly, which is what we should be doing.
Whether the right likes it or not, Nick Fuentes, like Megan says, has 5 million followers. And I'm sorry, if he's got 5 million people who are watching him and listening to him on a regular basis, he has a following, which also means he has an influence.
Yep.
So wouldn't it be better to find out what part of that influence is going to benefit?
Exactly.
Is going to benefit the MAGA movement? And I think that's what I gathered that Tucker was trying to find out.
Yeah.
I'm going to summarize it with one word. I think Tucker was trying to humanize him, or at least find the humanity in him.
Yeah.
And when you sit down with somebody, that's when you find it.
There you go.
In that interview, and I urge you to watch it back to back with the Ted Cruz
Except for Ben Shapiro, he's a fucking robot.
interview to determine whether you think that was an aggressive Tucker Carlson interview, and you can judge for
I
yourself.
didn't say
You
it
don't
was
have to take my
aggressive.
opinion.
I didn't say it was aggressive, and I don't think he would say it was aggressive.
And I think
his
that-
point was,
I am
this guy,
Ben
first of all,
Robot.
he's become a behemoth, sadly. He's got 5 million viewers on Rumble. He's got 1 million followers on X.
I agree.
Yeah.
This is all before Tucker Carlson. And he was platformed, I hate that verb, but he was platformed by Patrick Bet David. And he went on Dave Smith's show, and he went on another big show.
Yep.
He's been getting more and more purchase in the political ecosphere, including right wing.
And I think that's
Patrick
bad.
Bet David has a huge show. I know, but
But why is that
It
bad?
doesn't matter if he thinks it's bad.
Why is that bad, though? Why is it bad? Because you don't agree with them? That
That's
doesn't
exactly
make any
what it
sense. This is left wing ideology. We should not be canceling people for the sheer fact that we disagree with them. Because if they're here's the thing, right? Here's the thing that people fail to realize, Double D, is if you disagree with somebody, right, and you know that they're wrong, you 1000% know that they're wrong, you want their idea to get out there to be showing that they're wrong.
Exactly.
That's how that's how you expose it. That's how you expose something wrong. Things in the dark need to come to light to be shown.
That's where the old saying came from. It's better for a fool to let them think he's a fool than to open up his mouth and prove them right.
Right, exactly.
Right now, so if Fuentes is really this, I'm going to use the word fool because that's the example that I use, but I don't really believe that Fuentes is a fool.
No.
But I believe Shapiro does believe that. So,
Yeah.
with that said,
Prove it.
if he really believes that Fuentes is a dangerous and a fool and he's a danger to society, his words and it will eventually, the truth will come out and it will show him for who he is. All right. And he does say some vile stuff. I'm not going to disagree with that.
Right.
You know, I think Megan's right. Stuff that at least my generation and her generation, she's part of mine, find offensive. But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's why.
That's the whole point of freedom of speech.
Exactly. The moment we start cutting out the freedom of speech and telling people what they can or cannot say and start jailing people like they do in the UK for having an opinion, then you might as well just wipe your butt with the Constitution.
That is very true.
It's worthless at that point. The most important part of the Constitution is those 10 Bill of Rights.
Exactly.
Patrick
Did you
Bet-David
know that
Right
Patrick
now-
Bet-David had him on?
Patrick
Did his
Exactly.
leg blow up?
Patrick
Shapiro
Bet-David
is
did a significantly
disgusting
more
with
aggressive
it.
interview.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
Fuentes than Tucker did.
He's a
Okay,
pussy.
But my point is simply he's
Without
growing.
saying
He's
it.
growing in stature. And so what I saw Tucker do was not whitewash his ideas, but try to put bumpers up on the guy.
Then-
I know
then-
Tucker well, and I think
then-
that was his approach.
Yeah.
And the way, if you want to put a bumper up on Fuentes, is it helpful to say, you're fucking vile. You're an anti-Semite.
Yes.
No, it isn't.
No. Yes,
it
that
is.
doesn't
No,
put a.
it's the- I
no,
agree
it
with
isn't. That
Megan.
makes the
No.
audience feel good because you have.
Because listen, I'll tell you this, right? I know I have a lot of friends who feel the same way about Israel and everything that's going on and with the Jewish people and shit. And I know when they say the Jews, they're talking about the Israeli government. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're not just
they are,
talking
they
about
are.
every Jewish person in the world. They're talking about the Israeli government. So you can't call somebody an anti-Semite, which is a stupid fucking word anyway, right? It's just another word that's just trying to play in people's heartstrings and emotions to get them going. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's gay. Let's just call it what it is. It's gay to call somebody an anti-Semite, in my opinion, okay? So...
Well, there are people who are genuinely anti-Semitic and hate Jews.
But
there are, and most of them are in the Democratic Party. Dude.
That's just hatred, period. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, I mean, that would be anti-Semitism. It's the hatred.
I
of
get
Jewish
it, but it's just,
people.
to me as a man, we shouldn't be talking about things that have to do with feelings and emotions, like anti-Semitism and racism. It's just all gay, right? So my whole point is to call him an anti-Semite, you're throwing a target on his back that's not necessarily meant to be there, because all he's doing is criticizing the Israeli government and Benjamin Netanyahu, which should be allowed. Why can't we?
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
live in a country of freedom of speech. We should be able to criticize whoever the hell we want.
I mean, how many times has Ben Shapiro and look, I criticize Biden all the time, and I make
Exactly.
tons of jokes about
Exactly.
him. And Ben Shapiro does too. But I also criticize Netanyahu.
Right.
And I like Bibi, by the way.
I don't.
I like
I
that.
could care less.
I like. Well, no, I mean, I come from that era of hard leaders make good leaders. In this case, I'm probably wrong this time because
No,
he's not helping anything with the way he's handling it.
No.
But that's besides the point. Point being is, just because I like Netanyahu, you don't.
Right.
You don't like Netanyahu.
Right. And who
You
cares?
disagree with pretty much everything. Yeah. Who gives a shit?
Right.
Exactly.
Am I an
And I
anti-Semite
consider-
because I don't think he's a good leader? No.
No,
I just don't think he's a
absolutely
good
not.
leader. Who gives a shit?
You didn't say the Jewish people should be killed. You didn't say the
Right.
Jewish.
And
you
neither-
didn't use
and-
anything like that.
and that's my
you didn't
point.
say you don't like that, yeah.
And that's my point. Neither did Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes never called for any of that.
See, I like strong military leaders, but that's just me personally. Apparently, a lot of people in your generation and the Gen Z generation really don't, and it's clear and obvious.
Yeah.
And they, you all are going to inherit this earth when we're gone.
Yeah.
So, but to call, yes, I agree with you. To call him an anti-Semite for criticizing Netanyahu,
It's ignorant.
that'd be
Ignorant.
like
It's
like
ignorant.
calling me a vegetarian just because I don't want to eat chicken.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd rather
Exactly. You're exactly right. Exactly right. And that is the whole point, that you are not something just because you criticize someone.
Hand combat, but
Exactly.
it doesn't help change that guy's view or his extremeness at all.
Okay, I'll tell you what doesn't change Nick Fuentes' view. Tucker Carlson with his arm around Nick Fuentes, grinning for the camera,
dude,
while
here he
Nick
goes
Fuentes
with that
tweets out
whining
America
bullshit
first,
again.
and then triumphantly goes on the air the next day to explain that he has essentially used Tucker Carlson as a vehicle for manipulating other people. Okay, that's what Nick Fuentes is saying, not me. Nick Fuentes. Okay, and Nick Fuentes, and by the way, I will again.
I didn't hear Nick say
Tucker
that, but
Carlson,
what's
I didn't either.
when you
on
say
that?
to somebody,
He's just a crybaby. You know how he is. He takes things out of context, and it could have been something that Nick said, and he said, "Oh no, he means this." When Ben Shapiro is literally a leftist in right wing suits.
Yeah,
in an interview,
he's the sheep
do you
in
condemn
wolf's clothing,
anti-Semitism?
for sure.
And then the person says, sure, which is what Nick Fuentes said. He said, I'm not an anti-Semite, which is blatantly untrue.
Yeah.
A responsible journalist would then follow up,
It's the wolf in
demonstrating
sheep's
that that is
clothing. I'm
false.
sorry.
Tucker
Yeah.
did not do that. He allowed him to get away with that, and then he allowed him to talk about quote-unquote organized Jewry, followed by Nick Fuentes being treated to a disquisition by Tucker Carlson about why Christian Zionists of all human beings on earth are the people that he hates the most.
He took that back.
You can't take that back.
You
How do
can
you take
too.
that back?
He did.
How?
Because he went. He
Then
spoke
he
to.
should
no.
explain.
Why can't you take anything back, right? God bless you.
Excuse me.
No, you're good. God bless you.
Thank you.
Why can't you take anything back, okay? Why?
Damn.
You're okay. God bless you again. Why? Here's my thing.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
You're okay. Why can't you take anything back? So you're literally saying that everything you say has to be etched in stone and you're supposed to stand on them beliefs forever and ever and ever, regardless of when it was said or what was said? No, that's just not true. You could think something even one day and the next day be proven wrong and say, I guess I'm wrong. This is really how it is. So what Ben Shapiro is saying is literally left-wing ideology.
Well, it definitely, I don't know if it's left-wing ideology as much as it is more, I would call it left-wing tactics.
Yeah, ideology.
Explain why it was wrong. He should explain why
Pussy.
Zionists are actually
He's
wonderful
not really
people.
a
Tucker
leftist.
is
I mean, he
very
doesn't
quick
really.
to.
No, like I said, he's
He's just using left-wing tactics to do. He's basically attacking Fuentes
Yeah.
with the same tactics that the left wing attacks us on the right.
Exactly.
Self-flagellate, and he went on with Dave Smith the next day, the next week, whatever, Monday, Tuesday this week, and said, "That was stupid. I didn't mean that." He said, I'm angry at people like Lindsey Graham. I'm angry at people like Ted Cruz because he thinks they run headfirst in these conflicts and they don't think about what's going to happen to American
wait,
kids.
hold up. If we're talking about firing inside the tent, whatever you think of Lindsey Graham, okay, and I'm not a huge Lindsey Graham fan. He votes with the president of the United States 100% of the time. And Tucker spent yesterday's show excoriating him as a psychosexual death worshiper. Does that sound like firing outside the tent? Again, these
I
are
gotta
the
say, I'm
questions.
not offended.
Again, the questions that I'm asking here, I'm not asking you to do anything, Megan.
No, I know.
Okay,
I know.
I'm not.
Our beef is not with each other.
I'm not, okay? When I draw a line with regard to what I believe Tucker Carlson is doing to the conservative movement and what he is fomenting, that is because that is my info, and everyone can make their own decision as to whether they think that I am right or whether I am wrong and where
You're
they
wrong.
choose to draw.
Well, I made my decision. You are completely wrong and you are a pussy. I've made my
Here's
decision.
the question I have for Ben Shapiro is, when did he define the MAGA movement?
Right. When did he become when did he become the spokesperson?
Yeah, when did he become the defining voice? Because honestly, when I think of the MAGA movement, Ben Shapiro is not the first one that comes to mind.
He's not even the third or fourth or fifth or sixth. Shit.
He's probably not even in the top 10.
I'm putting Steven Crowder over him.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Stein, I would put before him.
Right.
Now, Alex Stein's a comedian, but he's a political comedian who's very MAGA.
Black conservative perspective I'd put before him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
so many
absolutely.
people.
Especially that Officer Tatum.
Officer Tatum, I'm not. Lately, I can't watch him. He's been chilling. He's been chilling a lot lately.
Well, he's a generational thing too. He looks at things through the eyes of Gen X, also.
Yeah, but you could tell
he does do that.
You could tell he's
does.
really super chilling for Israel right now. Like, it's bad.
I mean,
it's bad.
He is pro-Israel.
It's bad,
I'm
though.
not anti-Israel.
It's not
I'm
anti-Israel.
Not pro-Israel.
Yeah, I'm not pro-Israel or anti. I'm not
anti-Israel.
I'm America
either.
first. I'm America first.
Exactly.
America only.
But you're right. Officer Tatum has been, he is definitely pro-Israel. He's not apologetic about it at all.
Yeah.
So,
with regard to the conservative movement, the question for me is always whether somebody's statements are forwarding moral values that I think are worthwhile. I did not get into this business for the money or for the clicks. You didn't either.
Neither did he.
What was that?
Neither did he.
I mean, he may not have. That's fine.
See, why are you questioning his morals? Like, your morals are so much higher than him. You're nothing but a little crybaby bitch, dude.
he does have a moral superiority complex, that's for sure.
And he's not. He's this dude.
I mean, I don't dislike Ben Shapiro, but
I can't stand him.
He's not one of my favorite shows either. Actually, I mean, probably my favorite podcast, as far as that goes, probably would be Tucker and PBD. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, and Tim Pool, but Tim Pool's more of a journalist.
Yeah, and he's yeah.
Fine.
No,
I
he's
certainly
more
do
news.
not. I'm only going to speak for
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, more
and what that
journalist.
means for me is that if I see somebody breach basic moral values by having on a Nazi, and in my own view, you can take your own view.
Okay, see, he's got to stop calling him a Nazi, man.
Right, 'cause he's
Jesus
not.
Christ, he's doing exactly what they do on the left.
Yeah.
I disagree with you, therefore you're a Nazi.
Right.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, dude, I think, yeah. I don't know why he keeps doing that.
Because he wants to shut him up. This is what they do.
My own view, gloss the Nazi, then I'm going to speak out about that, and I'm going to point out that there is a long pattern of him ideologically laundering terrible ideas over the course of the last 2 years, ranging from traveling to Russia to sniff the bread and explain why the Russian regime is actually wonderful, to saying last week that the Venezuelan regime of Nicolas Maduro is actually not that bad because they're being attacked by, in his words, globo homo.
Tucker's made the point, I'm not going to here to be Tucker's defender, but he's made the point that Maduro is culturally conservative.
Who gives a shit? The guy's a communist dictator. Everyone in his country is eating dog. He's shipping fentanyl to the United States to kill Americans. Why do I give a shit whether he's anti-LGBT?
But here's the point that Ben is failing to realize the most, right? This is the biggest point, and this is why he is out of touch. It doesn't matter if this Nicolas Maduro guy is doing all of that. Tucker Carlson is a journalist. He is meant to get to interview people and get the facts out of people and get the stories out of people. He's not over there to be a CIA agent and snipe the dude and take him out. He's literally a journalist. This dude's acting like you can't talk to people that you don't agree with. Dude, I just watched that dude, Nick Shirley, literally go to another country and go on top of like a mountain where it was like criminals. Dude, it was crazy. And he still did it. I'll guarantee he doesn't agree with what's going on. That doesn't mean that you don't interview people and you don't get to the raw truth of things.
Well, if you don't take those risks as a journalist, then
don't be a journalist.
You're not a journalist. Now, like Caitlin Bennett, I don't know if I would consider her a journalist, but I would definitely consider her a brave person who goes and tries to have the conversations in the most adversarial, conditions you could do that in. I respect the hell out of that. Ben Shapiro doesn't really do that, though. He doesn't interview people he disagrees with.
Exactly.
I've never seen one.
No.
Maybe he has. I don't know. But I've never seen it.
Look what he did to Candace Owens. She was on his platform till she said something that he disagreed with, and he kicked her off.
She disagreed with Netanyahu.
Right,
we could fired her for that.
Yeah, this dude's a loser.
LGBTQ rights. This is the number one thing about Nicolas Maduro. You know how far down the list you have to get before you can get to anything remotely recommendable about Nicolas Maduro?
I did ask him yesterday about the criticism that he didn't give Nick Fuentes a hard time, right? He didn't bring up the stuff that we were talking about. No, he didn't. And here's what he said.
So
He
what?
seemed to think that we've way overstated the number of Jews killed in the Holocaust. He's ripped on poor Usha Vance in the most offensive terms, which I mean. So what do you say to those people? Say, why didn't you raise any of that?
Do your own interview the way that you want to do it. You're not my editor.
Exactly.
Buzz off.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. You want to go yell at Nick Fuentes? I'll give you his cell. Call him and go sit and yell at him and feel virtuous or whatever. That's up to
very
you.
true. Very true.
Exactly.
I
Tucker
agree.
is just being a journalist.
Yep, he's just literally doing an interview with somebody he didn't really agree with, somebody that was attacking him for no reason, and he still went into the interview like a grown man, like a real journalist, which is something that Ben Shapiro could take a little bit of learning from. And I'm not sure, but I heard the Daily Wire stock has been going down and down and down more lately. You wonder why.
I mean, I'm not sure that Ben Shapiro is really, does he consider himself a journalist? Because I don't think he's a journalist.
Man.
I think he's just another podcaster or I mean, he's an entertainment value. I mean, Daily Wire is an entertainment channel. It just happens to be right-wing entertainment. But honestly, some of the things I see on the Daily, because I have that channel on my Roku, some of it's comparable to the Babylon Bee.
Yeah.
Some of it's satire.
True.
And it's meant to be satire.
Right.
It's not an accident.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I don't know where Ben's coming up with that. And suddenly he's this holier than thou journalist. I don't know where that came from. That certainly doesn't sound like who he's been all along until now, but I guess he's trying to put on a new face. I don't know.
I agree with him. I agree with him. He did the interview that he wanted to do for a reason.
Here's the other thing I want to say. We all have different approaches in this industry, you know, and there's been a lot that people in podcasting have said that I disagree with, including many of the names that we've discussed tonight.
And we disagree too. I mean, yes, of course.
But, well, I mean, yes, rarely, but sometimes we do. But my own personal approach, generally when it's someone who's on what I consider to be my side, the side of sanity.
And this is the entire question, is whether I consider Tucker Carlson to be on my side.
I got it. But I would just say, just for the record, my own general approach, and this is my audience here, so they know, is in general, I will take on a position and I will make clear how I feel. For example, I've been asked, and some of my audience is mad at me for this, but what do you think happened to Charlie Kirk? And I believe a man named Tyler Robinson shot and killed Charlie Kirk. I believe he was influenced by trans Tifa, radical trans activists, that he fell in with a lunatic that goes by Lance Twiggs, that guy was extremely radical, and that he and possibly a band of others convinced this guy that violence was the answer. And I believe others knew about it before Charlie was killed.
I agree. I agree. And listen, I don't mind the people that do the little conspiracy theories. I don't mind it. If you could show me something that, like, you know, is definite, like, oh shit, you're right. Hey, yeah, 1000%. But we don't know anything else until it's all said and done.
Can I be honest? There was a time that I thought, because of the whole 30-06 thing and that particular bullet, I was a little surprised that there was no exit for that bullet, considering how strong of a bullet it is, and considering from the distance that it was shot. 200 yards is nothing with that bullet. That's really nothing. So I was surprised it didn't come out. But after listening to other ballistics experts, and I also listened to a guy who was in the Afghan war, I believe he was on Brendan Herrera's show. Okay. As it turns out, that freak thing does happen with those rounds. So, and it also happens with the 7.62. Sometimes it just gets lodged in the bone.
Okay. All right. So there you go.
So I agree with Megan. I think it was a lone shooter named Tyler Robinson.
Mm-hmm. That's what I believe. And until you can show me cold, hard proof that it was something other than that, that's what I'm going with. And I don't want to do or say anything that will jeopardize the FBI investigation and prosecution of that guy to make sure he spends the rest of his life either behind bars or on the wrong end of a firing squad. But
absolutely.
So I feel like I can make these points without attacking people who generally are on my side in fighting the...
Exactly, and that is the exact point, Destiny Shapiro, is you can disagree with people on your side and be willing to have the conversation and see why you guys disagree. Instead of just calling them anti-Semites, racist, bigots, homophobes, why not have the conversation and see why they think the way that they think?
You know, I always wonder, what does Alex Stein or Nate Friedman or Nick Shirley, what do those guys think of Fuentes?
I don't know, honestly.
I mean, I've never heard them really say anything. I mean, obviously, the three of them that I just named are more comedian podcasters, obviously. But I mean, I don't hear them calling Nick Fuentes a Nazi. That's a very strong word. And you know, Ben Shapiro knows the damage of that word. So to me, he's not a leftist, but he's certainly using their tactics.
For sure.
Ranged leftists who are killing us.
But my point is, so 2 points. One, you have to define your side. You do. There are limits to the
all
side.
the people who don't want to kill others based on their political ideology.
I I would agree with that, except for the fact that, as you showed, Nick Fuentes wants to kill others based on their political
He's not
ideology.
on my side. He's not with me.
My
when
point is
did
that
he say that?
I've never heard
When
him
did
say
Nick say that?
I've never heard
him say
that.
that either.
Ben Shapiro
Never
is
heard
a
him.
pussy liar. He is a manipulator. He wants to get everybody to attack Nick Fuentes and be on his side because he's a pussy and he can't just have the conversation one-on-one like a real man. He has to try and gather an army up like a little bitch.
Yeah, I've never heard Nick Fuentes call for the murder of Israeli people or Jewish people.
Nope.
Hell, I haven't even heard him call for the murder of Netanyahu or anything like that. And he hates Netanyahu.
Right.
You know what I mean?
treated
But
him as
I've
though he was
never
on
heard
his
him call
side.
for
I see it
violence.
differently.
None,
I think
never.
he did an
I know you do.
exploratory interview where there was a possible attempt to put a bumper up on this guy.
I think that we don't have to go over ground that we've already covered. We can agree to disagree on that, and everyone can make up their own mind after going and watching the interview yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
what I've done.
And that's what you should do. And I'll guarantee that Ben Shapiro didn't do that. I'll guarantee he did not go watch the interview. I'll guarantee.
Let's be blunt.
He just seen what people sent him and went based upon what he was sent instead of hearing everything in full context. That's what it seems like to me, at least.
Yeah, I think, again, Ben is using a tactic that they use that we just don't use that tactic. And the fact that he is using that tactic now actually makes me a little bit disappointed, honestly.
So, with that being said, I think we had a good episode right here. My takeaway from everything, I'm going to keep it very short, simple, and sweet. Don't be a little bitch like Ben Shapiro. That's it. That's all I'm taking away from it.
Well, the only thing that I'm going to reiterate is I think him throwing around the accusation of Nazi is a very dangerous and irresponsible thing to do, especially because Nick Fuentes is not a National Socialist. He is not a democratic socialist. Both of those were Nazis, by the way.
Right.
And he's neither one of those. He is a capitalist. He disagrees with Israel. A lot of people do.
Right.
Including myself. I disagree with the current tactic.
Yeah, I disagree with everything going on right now. But to be fair, I am America
first. I disagree
first.
with Hamas, too.
Right.
I also disagree with Hamas.
Exactly, and that's the point.
And as you know, so I personally would like to see peace and prosperity.
Exactly.
And with that, I mean, that's where I stand on it. And I think he's entering a dangerous zone.
All right.
With his rhetoric.
I agree.
Just because you disagree with Netanyahu in Israel does not make you anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
Any more than disagreeing with Hamas makes you, again, anti-Semitic, because Arabs are actually Semitic people. They're part of the 12 tribes of Semite. So technically, according to his theory, you're basically an anti-Semite if you disagree with Israel or Hamas.
There you
because
go.
Both of them are Semitic people.
There you go. Well, on that note,
it just don't add up.
On that note, I think we're going to end it. I want to thank you guys for stopping by and making this possible. I want to thank Double D. I want to thank my family. And most importantly, I want to thank God, because without him, none of this happens.
And as always, Bird, thank you for making the show happen every week. As always, audience, thank you for sticking around. And most importantly, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for allowing me to be here today to bring this message to you in the first place. And with all that, good night, y'all.
All right, everybody, have a good one. Peace.